started, and we might have more friends joining in. Continue to introduce yourself as you do. I want to begin with our land acknowledgement. So this is a practice that Earth Ministry WAIPL is taking really seriously, and we encourage you to pause to remember and honor the Indigenous peoples of the land on which you are calling in from. We work across the unceded territories of Northwest Native nations across the region, and our office is on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish, past, present, and future. And we really take this time to resist erasure of Indigenous history and an ongoing presence, as well as to honor the land itself. If you want to know and you aren't sure what native land you are calling in from, I'm going to drop a handy link in the chat that is a resource where you can put in your address and learn about the various overlapping territories of your region. So, hello, I suppose I haven't introduced myself for those who are new. I am Jessica Zimmerly. I am the Program and Outreach Director of Earth Ministry and Washington Interfaith Power and Light. And it is my deep joy to get to serve you all. My role at Earth Ministry is to help oversee our congregational support and also our faithful advocacy campaigns for environmental justice. And much of tonight, we're going to be talking about our Greening Congregations program. And I just would love to see, if you're on camera, a show of hands if you're new to Earth Ministry, like overall. Okay, we got Cora a little bit, Melissa a little bit, Alice. And okay. Thank you for showing those hands. So I'll just say in general, we would be happy to have more of a one-to-one conversation to share the full spectrum of our work, but the elevator version is that we are a uniquely faith-based organization working on environmental justice and stewardship of creation. And we really are working to cultivate a multi-faith presence in this work that is so crucial for our planet in this time in which we find ourselves with the climate crisis really in our face. And so we hold our faith and our spiritual traditions as a source of wisdom and resilience to address this existential problem and do that in community here together. So I love to see new folks. I also see some longtime supporters, founding members. So it's good to have people from across the spectrum of experience with us. This is also the first event where Earth Ministries has more program staff than me, which is so exciting. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleagues for some introductions, and I will just invite Kia to begin.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Kia Colucci, and I am the new Multifaith Outreach Coordinator at Earth Ministry WAIPL. I come to this work from a different route. So I studied comparative religion in grad school. And even though I study, Mesopotamia, the Mediterranean of late antiquity, you can still tie it all in. And my focus then was Judaism at the time. And then my current focus now is also outreach to Jewish communities and trying to bring them further into the Earth Ministry WAIPL community, as well as meet everyone else who is not of the Jewish faith, and just meet everyone and learn what everyone's doing and get more involved with what you are all doing at Earth Ministry and your congregations.
Thanks, Kia. And Lindsay, do you want to go next?
Sure, thank you. My name is Lindsay. I use she, her pronouns. I'm also on Duwamish land. And I am the program assistant here at Earth Ministry WAIPL. I just joined on the team in September. It's been very exciting. I'm doing a lot of work helping Jess out and working in our advocacy programs. So hopefully I will hear more from all of you as I invite you to some advocacy actions in the future. But I look forward to meeting with you and working with you out in the community.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay is our Zoom wizard tonight, so we give gratitude for that, because and Grace as well. And then Dorothy, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Hi, I'm Dorothy, she, her pronouns, coming to you from Duwamish land. And I am a sister of St. Joseph of Peace, who is volunteering for Jessica through the JV Encore program. And I will be assisting with outreach to Catholic parishes. Nice to be with you here this evening.
Thank you, Dorothy. So this is our awesome program team here to support your work and your greening in your communities. We're excited to explore that together tonight. I also want to name that we have some board members in the house. You'll get to hear from Deirdre Gabay in a bit. Janet Farnes is here. I apologize if there's others I'm missing, but we're grateful for our board. And we might, I don't see her on the call yet, but our interim executive director might join us as well. She was trying to get home through traffic to join the call. So we are going to sadly have to skip her introduction because we have a lot to cover tonight, y'all, which is exciting. So to give you a bit of a roadmap, what our intention is for this hour together is that we will spend some time exploring Earth Ministry's new Multifaith expansion of our Greening Congregations Toolkit. I'll speak to that a bit. You'll get a chance to talk with one another. We will do breakout rooms so you can hear what other folks are doing in their congregations. And then our last chunk of time will be Kia talking about some ongoing opportunities for networking like this together to continue now that we're in our virtual Zoom world. So to begin and warm up and get a bit of a sense of who all is in the room, we're going to do a poll. So Lindsay will bring up the poll, and my question for you is, what is your status of your congregation in relationship to Earth Ministry? So do you attend an existing greening congregation, one that is in the process of becoming a greening congregation, a congregation that is a member of Earth Ministry but not taken the step into greening, or one not affiliated with us yet, but that can change. It's also okay if you are not affiliated with a house of worship, so we have that option there as well. So I'll give some time for this to trickle in. I wish you could do a little like background music. I guess we're not that tech savvy, but the silent space of the Zoom is always different than if we were together, you know.
Jessica, you could sing.
Oh no, you don't want that. I volunteer you, Marjorie. Okay, so we've got about 88% who have voted. That's pretty good. We can leave it open in case a few more trickle in, but it's looking like we've got close to a tie with existing greening congregations, congregations not yet affiliated with us, and then 10, 12 for tied for in the process or not greening. So that means overall you got 28 votes for some sort of involvement with greeting congregations, which is awesome. And then opportunities for more. And I'm realizing, can you all see these numbers as I'm sharing them? Oh, here, let's.
I have to end the poll and then I can share.
Ta-da! Can you see the numbers now? Nods. Okay, great. So now you don't have to actually translate what I was saying. So here's how we're kind of polling out here. So I love seeing opportunities for new connections to be made tonight with those at congregations not yet working with us. And also bravo for presence of existing greeting congregations and still taking the time to join us. I see in the chat also there's sometimes you're with a lapsed congregation. That's what we would kind of refer to what Helen is saying, where you were affiliated quite a while ago. You received an award, which is awesome. And as the cycles go in church life, it may have waned and can now crest again. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to put down our poll now. Okay, great. Wonderful. So a brief history of our Greeting Congregations program, just to begin and remind us all where Earth Ministry has come from. Earth Ministry is almost 30 years old, and we were the first organization in the country to offer a congregational certification process for Christian churches initially. So this was really innovative work done by our founders. A shout out to Ruth Mulligan, who's here with us as one of the trio who got this organization going. And at the beginning, you know, there was nothing like this happening, right? So we had a fat resource. Here's our old toolkit. It's hefty. It was kind of fun to pull this out though and take a look back. So some of you might remember this. I see some thumbs ups. It was really, foundational to Earth Ministry developing our community and the network of congregations that we work with across the region. We have some greeting congregations out of state as well, which is awesome because it was so one of a kind at the time. Since 30 years ago, there are now a lot of different opportunities for houses of worship to become certified through their own religious tradition, which is great. And we want to see that. Our goal ultimately is to get as many people across the country and world engaged in this work through their faith communities. But that kind of leaves us at Earth Ministries thinking, okay, so what does it mean for us here in Washington State and this program more localized and with the awareness that, there is the Green Chalice program through the Unitarian Universalist Association, and Presbyterians for Earth Care has a version, and a lot of different denominations. There's the Hazon Seal of Sustainability for Jewish communities. So for us, what I see as the core of our work and what makes us unique is our roots here in community, in place, Earth Ministry's support of campaigns for environmental justice in this region. And with our greening work, what I see really as the strong point is its flexibility. So I'm not going to hate on those other programs. They're good, to each their own. But what I think is especially approachable with ours is that it's not a rigid set of checklists for you to complete. What our intention is with the Greening Congregations program is more about discernment and helping your community have enough of a framework to enter into discernment with one another about how you feel called to care for creation and work for environmental justice together. And that looks very unique in each different community. which is beautiful and makes a really amazing tapestry across our region. So for me, that is a unique component of this work that we do together, is that it really is about seeing where there are seeds already planted, where there might be seeds laying fallow, where we can help nurture and grow within the passions of our existing communities and the resources that we have. I could do a whole bunch more in depth about the program in general. What I will say at the top level, well, first of all, I'll say I'm happy to come do one-on-ones with your green team or you to have that more detailed level conversation. At the highest level, Earth Ministry talks about our greening congregations work in terms of 5 green fields, which are areas of greening congregational life. And our 5 different green fields are worship and liturgy. That's where you often can connect with the most broad spectrum of folks, the people who might not come to your hour-long workshop, but will be there for worship. There is education, which is taking the time to learn together, learn about current issues and what's relevant in the region, read books to hear different perspectives together. Taking that time to learn is really important. The third green field is buildings and grounds. So this is where there's often a lot of energy because it's all about like the hands-on projects and what we can do with the space that we're stewarding and how we can both make an impact in how we tend to that space and make use of it for the community. The fourth is community engagement. So sometimes this gets conflated with education, but community engagement is more about looking outward into the broader neighborhood and how you can invite others into your work of greening. Some cool examples are things when like a congregation hosts a electronic waste recycling day in your parking lot, and you invite community members to come and drop off those things that sit in the back of your closet and you don't know what to do with. Or community movie nights where you might invite a panel to come speak about a documentary and tell your neighbors about that. So engaging with the folks beyond the doors of your building to broaden this work. And then the fifth green field is faithful advocacy. And that is when we show up in the public sphere in a way that is shamelessly faith forward as advocates for the values that are central to our tradition, that call us across traditions to call us to justice, equity, good stewardship, responsibility, which all looks very tangible in how we address the environmental crises in front of us. So that's just a quick piece of the framework of greening. And what this toolkit does is it goes into a lot more detail than I'm able to tonight. So hopefully you have downloaded the toolkit. Can I see a show of hands? We got some thumbs up. Okay, so folks have gotten the toolkit and you can spend some time really digging in there to see more of the details of these green fields that I'm talking about, certainly. I'll talk actually about the whole structure of this toolkit in a minute. But before I do, like part of the reason that we're hosting this event tonight is because we have this new update to our flagship resource. And that's really important to us here at Earth Ministry, as we, you might know, are leaning into our 2020 to 2025 strategic plan commitment to become a fully multi-faith organization. And one of the first things we knew we needed to do is to make this resource more welcoming to people across traditions. So over the last year, I have had the joy of working with Deirdre, who's on our board, with Rabbi Zeri Weiss, who has also recently joined our board, on this updated document that is our first expansion and includes Jewish content. So when we were thinking about how we wanted to do this, we had a lot of different paths that we could have chosen. What we ended on is that we want this to be somewhat of a living document that reflects our increasingly diverse religious and cultural identity. So at this point, we are working most closely with the Jewish community in response to interest that has been expressed there. And so that is the first section that we looked at to add. We're also looking shortly to bring in some Unitarian Universalist content. As we know, a lot of UUs are involved in our community. So what we ended up doing is looking at the document overall and editing it for inclusivity in terms of language, taking out the explicitly Christian language throughout and having it be more generalized and welcoming. But then we did want to leave in sections that were explicit to different traditions. For us, being multi-faith means that we can each show up bringing our unique spiritual practice, tradition, wisdom into our shared space. And we don't want to just be watered down to our least common denominator. So that's why we talk about being multi-faith rather than interfaith, which is a bit more of a melding together. We want to be united and diverse within that. So with that, and I'll pull this up on the screen in a minute so you can see it better. But there are sections in here that are explicitly Jewish that Deirdre wrote, and I'm going to invite her to share about. And then there's also sections that are explicitly Christian. And then, like I was saying, over time, we will continue to build that out to represent more of the communities that we are working with. And that's really important to us to do in a way that is done well and in relationship and authentic. So at this point, I'm going to invite Deirdre, if you want to say a few words, since you are the author of the Jewish Heart of Faith section here, which is some of the theological grounding, and then also the Greenfield worship resources for the Jewish community.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? All right, okay, good. Thank you, Jess. I am really honored and happy to have joined Earth Ministry as their first Jewish board member. And I think at the time that I joined, I may have been their first who hadn't been a member of a Christian tradition. So it's pretty exciting. And I have felt so welcomed by the really, I feel like, very authentic desire to be in partnership. And I one of the things that I really love is what Jess was talking about, that it's truly multi-faith as opposed to interfaith. And there is not, rather than like seeing all the faces and then you're in the intersection, it's like, what do we all have in common, which might be just lighting a candle and singing Kumbaya, or I don't even know what that song is. But this really invites us to bring our whole selves, our whole background of our tradition with us, and to enter dialogue. So it's more like the union of all of those circles and not just the small intersection. And so when I joined Earth Ministries board, I did feel that the Green Congregations Toolkit would not be something that spoke to the Jewish faith, because it used completely different language and textual sources and metaphors and imagery. So I was enthusiastic to work to create something that would speak to my tradition, that would speak from the voice of our sacred texts and from the voice of people who had been interpreting them in modern times. And so I was very I took the writing of the Heart of Faith document very personally, and I wanted to bring in the most beautiful Torah that I could find that articulated what I thought were the highest values that the Jewish religion had to offer in terms of our responsibility to care for the creation that we have been given. And I tried to approach, I tried to focus narrowly on the ideas that I thought were the most central, but also like the most heart-opening and evocative for people familiar with them. And I also have been inspired in my journey of understanding this material by several really outstanding scholars and rabbis who have spoken to me and very deeply, and I brought in their words because I wanted to share those with you as well. So we have Torah, we have prophets, we have what I consider modern day prophets like Dr. Jeremy Benstein in Israel and Rabbi Shai Held in Massachusetts and New York, and I brought in there's been a recent in the past 10 years a teshuva, which is an answer to a question by the rabbis of the conservative movement, asking what should be the response of the Jewish person to the environmental crisis. What are we told in our sacred texts about this? And the response was written by two rabbis, modern rabbis living on the East Coast, and we brought them to speak, and I tried to interpret their answer to that question, which basically puts forth just very, very simply the idea that prior to any other commandment in Judaism is the commandment to sustain a living world for our ancestors. The idea of intergenerational responsibility is at the root of every other aspect of our faith, and we can't have that these generations for every created being are dependent on this world, and so therefore, I'm trying to bring back even into my religious home, Beth Shalom, to teach our board. Like, I feel like it's essential that we teach the people who run our institutions how important this is, and that we can't look away from this, and that it is at the root of everything that we do. And we're in a very precarious time in the world. Our religion is very old and has stories about disasters that have befallen people in the past, and we feel very deeply, very keenly that we're in a time like these times that have been described in the Bible. And we see plagues that are as devastating as the 10 plagues that we read about in the book of Exodus. We see inundation of populated areas that remind us of the flood and the story of Noah. And so we take this very seriously. We need to take it seriously. And I wanted to create a document that would be at that level of a reminder for my people. So, and it was a beautiful opportunity, and I hope that it's meaningful.
Thank you, Deirdre. Yeah, oh gosh, thank you. And the heart that you brought to it is so evident in the piece. So I do hope that everyone takes the time to explore the document fully, the resource fully, but also to read that Heart of Faith piece, because part of our work as an increasingly multi-faith community is to also understand and hear from members of our community from different traditions. So that's why we, the section in here on Judaism is not just for Jewish folks, but also for Christian folks to learn about what Judaism has to say, and vice versa. So we are grateful to Deirdre. I also want to give a shout out that the Christian section was updated. So that's also new. A lot of this content was updated overall. just to bring it to where we are at the present day. So a shout out to Dr. Kevin O'Brien, who is a professor at Pacific Lutheran University, who worked with us on updating the Christian Heart of Faith section. I don't think Kevin is here with us tonight, but we send him gratitude and good energy. So briefly, before we go into breakout rooms, in case you haven't yet, yes, Lindsay, can you drop in the chat the link to this? So people know where they can download it. Excellent question. I'm also going to bring it up here on my screen just to show you a basic rundown of how the document is laid out. So can I get a thumbs up if you can see this? Okay, I saw a thumb. So here is our toolkit, and I'm just going to show you the table of contents here. So we break it out into 6 sections. Like Deirdre was referencing, the Heart of Faith is that first part. It's where we take the time to really see what does our different traditions, like what is the wisdom there? What's, one perspective on it. There's tons of literature out there at this point where you can dive into more depth, and some of those authors are named in these pieces to give you kind of ideas of where you could go for further reading. But this is, written with Earth Ministries community particularly in mind, and kind of naming our values as well. So that's the Heart of Faith. Then we've got the Work of Faith. That talks a bit about kind of Earth Ministries philosophy and our theory of change and the different program areas that we work on. So if you're new to Earth Ministry, that's a great section to get to know us a bit better. And then we get into kind of the nitty gritty of it as a resource. So there's a section that just guides you on how to approach the toolkit and how to navigate through it. And then it gets into like, what does it take to become a greening congregation? And the 3-step process of submitting a statement of intent signed by your governing body, a mission statement crafted by your green team. So convening a green team would be a precursor to that. And then putting together an annual plan to map out your work together over the coming year. And those annual plans are structured or suggested to be structured within this greenfield framework that I have previously mentioned. So there are sections on each of the green fields that provide plentiful ideas to get your imagination going. And then finally, the 6th section is some appendices that have templates for the documents and the annual plan that you can explore, some stories. I do want to name that we will be building out more diversity in the stories represented. Right now, they're still all Christian. So that is something for us to continue working on. And then there's also a section on individual stewardship in a congregational context, because that's an important piece to have each of us carry, but the focus of this is more on the level of overall congregational work. So I'll just do a really quick scroll here so you can kind of have a sense of what this document looks like. Some of them are more wordy, like, you want to sit and spend time reading these. And then some of the later sections are more kind of like a checklist. So for example, here's how to use the toolkit. We've got some stuff bolded to help guide you. And this, I think, is a really helpful page that outlines the step-by-step process of becoming a greening congregation. And then it gets all into the fun of it with green fields down below. So that's a big chunk of the second half of the toolkit, where we help provide ideas to get you thinking. So with that, I'm going to stop my sharing, and we're going to invite you all to spend some time sharing with one another. So part of our goal for tonight is to share this resource with you all and encourage you to spend some more time with it on your own. But also we know that it's our community that actually brings this resource to life, and it's the work that you're doing in your congregations, or even just the ideas you have about doing this work in your congregation if you haven't gotten started yet. So we will be going into breakout rooms. I think we'll do about 12 minutes with groups of 3, so you'll each have like 4 minutes to share. I know we could talk a lot longer. There will be opportunities for that, which Kia will talk about when we come back. And I do want to address something in the chat really quick. Is there an intent to add a Heart of Faith for Islam? Yes, most definitely. So we are in conversation with some Muslim partners and wanting to build out some relationships further there to find the right person to help us co-author that piece and work together on it and build a good groundwork in the Muslim community. So that is outreach that we are taking very seriously and are really wanting to do well. And as we more and more lean into it, we will continue building out this resource to represent more and more of the different faith traditions we're working with. So hopefully a UU section, Muslim section, Buddhist section, Hindu, Sikh. These are all things that we're thinking about in our outreach as we do increasingly multi-faith work. So with that, I send you off into breakout rooms, and the prompt is pretty loose. It's to share who you are, what house of worship you are affiliated with, if any, and what you're working on. That's really exciting. And if you're not working on anything yet, that's okay. You can share a hope for something that you would like to be working on over the next year. So spend some time getting to know one another, and then we'll come back for our last discussion as a whole group. Thank you. Looks like everyone is back now. Thank you for spending that time in conversation. I hope that it started to energize you around greening and hearing what others are up to. There will be more opportunities for that in more depth. And that is what we are going to spend our last 5 minutes here giving a sneak preview of. So I'm going to hand it over to Kia, who will talk about our new monthly gatherings for greening congregations work.
Okay, so we tend to have monthly gatherings. Historically, it's been for congregations that are working towards becoming net zero carbon emission congregations. And to start all that, there's been 5. And not all of them are net zero congregations or working towards that. So we opened it up to people who were just interested in finding more resources or help or hear what other people are doing. And now that we have our new Greening Congregations Toolkit, we are opening it up to more people. And the purpose of doing this is mostly to create a network within the different communities so you can have more collaboration on projects. So it's less learning from the ground up how to do something on your own and looking to other people to get their tips or where they've gotten their information or funding resources or anything like that. You can share all of that with each other as time goes on. And then right now, how we envision it is that you have a greeting congregation. Generally, you don't have to be part of one. And you send one representative to this monthly meeting. And once we have it, they will report back to their own green teams at their congregations. And in order to sign up for it and get the registration link, or I'm not sure how we're actually going to deal with that, but I think we'll have a registration link. You have to email me to indicate who is going to be your rep, and then I will be adding everyone to a Google group listserv. And I will put my email in the chat actually. and just tell me who the rep would be and if you want to be involved, and we will figure out how to make that happen. We do it the first Thursday of every month. So the first meeting where we're opening it up to everyone is going to be December 2nd, and it is from 5:30 to 6:30. And once you're on the listserv and going to the meetings, you will also have access to a Google Drive that has shared resources. So you can get ideas, you can contribute whatever resources you may have or you want people to know about as well. And again, you don't have to be an official greening congregation with Earth Ministry WAIPL in order to do this. If you have a green team who's just interested and you want to be involved without going through the whole process, like that is completely fine. One thing we have to figure out is how these breakout rooms are going to happen. So as it is, we have 5 congregations represented, and those 5 take up the whole hour, which is sharing everything that they're doing and that they're learning. So if we're opening it up to more people, we have to break it down by either theme, location, or what have you. So we're going to do another poll, and what you're going to do is tell us what your top preference is. Oh, so there it is. For the breakout rooms by geographic region, green fields that Jess talked about earlier, your current projects. If you want a cohort, so once you start it, you're with that group for as long as you want to be part of it. Or if you have other ideas, and you can let us know in the chat.
I can't see the poll. Is there a poll?
Sorry about that. I don't know why it wouldn't send to everybody.
I'm seeing it show up, but I think that was Lisa who spoke. You can, if you can't see the poll, you can put your preference in the chat, and we will take that into account. So the options are by region, greenfield, projects, a cohort, or another idea that you might have. Oh, good. And Kia put it in the chat.
Yeah, I didn't get all of your email.
Oh, it is kia@earthministry.org.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're very welcome.
Okay, shall we end the poll? Here we go.
Please don't end it just yet.
Oh,
Never mind.
relaunch.
Sorry.
Oh no, it will clear existing results. Sorry,
No,
Marjorie.
don't do that. That's fine. Don't worry
Okay.
about it.
You can put in the chat and we'll add you. We'll add that down. So share. Can you all see the results right now? Can you tell I don't do polls very often on Zoom?
Now we can.
Now you can. Okay. So interesting split here. What this tells us is the cohort model is not the most popular. So that is helpful. And that means that maybe we will rotate what our breakout rooms look like between the different months. So we'll discern a bit more on this, but we do appreciate your participation. And it's going to be an adventure. Like Kia was saying, this is something we've done with our congregation specifically who have committed to net zero. And they've shared that it's a really life-giving space and productive for them and want to open it up broader. So we're excited for that, and you can look forward to hearing more about it. We'll send that info in a follow-up email to you. And we'll get that out next week, so you can look for that from us. And in the meantime, we are at the top of our hour, and I want to honor everyone's time and let you go off and do as you will with the rest of your evening, but we do appreciate you taking an hour to spend some of that evening with us. And we, again, so appreciate what each of you bring to the houses of worship that you participate in, and the real difference that you're making for our communities and the environment. And we're grateful to partner with you in that good work. So don't hesitate to be in touch with me or Kia, and we will look forward to our first ongoing gathering with the big group on December 2nd, and would love to see you there.